Gary, when Gary was assistant to Peter Lawson Jones.
Okay.
You're right.
Absolutely.
This plan has been going on
It's by design.
by design with the Greater Cleveland Partnership for years. And they're in the Terminal Tower building, and their plans, and they needed somebody to come in and who would accede to their agenda and do what they would like to do. But East Cleveland has a long and strong history.
Yes, it does.
So whatever you need, it's there. We also have to be aware of there are people everywhere around. For example, there are people at the land bank who are Mayor Norton's really good friend, Cheryl Stevens. She's mayor of Cleveland Heights. Okay, and they know this, and he knows this, and I've been involved in politics for some time. So there are people, as we're working, you need to know where these people are and what their allegiances are.
Absolutely.
Okay, but any information that I have that I can be helpful and help steer away from the pits, I'll do that because people have been good to me, and I've been gracious, and I've been blessed. So, okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that information. I wanted to go back to the topic that Chaun'drea mentioned in terms of determining a place, because I've been working in the community with several different groups. We're actually, we're working with a group that wants to open a black-owned grocery store. And so this conversation came up, but Daryl and I have also had meetings in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood in terms of building what we call Little Africa, something similar to a Spanish town or Asian town, or, you know.
That's what it is called, Little Africa.
This used to be called Little Africa?
That's what I call it.
Okay, Little Africa. So that's the name we adopted. It doesn't matter to me, but it's owned by us, run by us. We live there, we work there, we play there. So that's the idea, right? It's our community. And so, you know, the group that's working with the grocery store, they were looking here in East Cleveland and also over on St. Clair. And, you know, according to the city plans, we were kind of letting them know with regentrification, how feasible, or, you know, looking at the cost benefit, would it make sense? Because they're regentrifying, but not for us.
Right.
And so we was starting to consider the southeast area, which is losing to suburbs, but it includes Maple, Garfield, Bedford, and Warrensville, where we still have black home ownership. And actually, I like Mapletown as a location for that black grocery store because there's black dollars out there. But we also were talking about Mount Pleasant. So I think that's a real conversation and a decision that we need to make as a collective, because, you know, science from East Cleveland, Africans, and we all from different places. We have different affinities for the city, but what strategically makes sense where the black dollar is going to be, where the services are going to be, and where can we have a stronghold, and where we have a foothold, where can we put a stronghold that we can also police and be safe and say, this is all us, you're not coming here. So I think that's a real conversation that we actually need to have, you know, we will be willing to move in that particular
Yeah, we need to
direction.
move in that direction. And one of the key things to identifying a place is when we go into Chinatown or Koreatown, or when we go into Little Italy, we see signage that says, this is us. We see a Korean flag flying somewhere. We see an Italian Spaniard or whatever standing up somewhere, a statue of some sort. So once we identify the place, we must mark that territory. We have to mark that territory to make it well known that this is where we are. You're not going to do certain things. You're not going to come sell certain things to us. We're not just going to accept certain things. So it has to be, we have to, one, identify a place, and two, mark that place so that they know that this is, if we call it Little Africa, we call it, you know, Rwanda, whatever we call it, they have to know that this is our space and they cannot invade that space. Yes, Ms. Lyon?
There's about approximately 9 years left on the facilitation of this plan that's happening now, which was actually instituted by the United States. So in saying that, the goal for them is to take back everything on the water.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, the goal for that they're actually forcing upon us is to take all of us and move us to southeast.
Yeah.
But you've got certain suburbs fighting that, like Bedford's trying to hold on. Bedford, they've got their issues, but they're trying not to go where Maple ended up. Because Maple overnight just exploded with one problem after another.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we're done in Maple. They've already cut the school day in Garfield Heights because of a failed tax levy last election. They're like, well, okay, we can't pay teachers, whatever. Everybody gets out of school at 2 o'clock. Well, then that just added to more youth being in trouble with the police because parents didn't have daycare and things like that available. So the thing is, when you talk about resources, when you talk about area to be located in, we're going to end up split because you're going to have those most disadvantaged in those southeast suburbs. On Unwin, last Thursday, not this past Thursday, a week prior, so 2 Thursdays ago, like if you haven't noticed, CMHA is no longer giving out, they're not having the lottery anymore for Section 8 vouchers. They're going, taking whole streets, everybody gets a voucher, and you got 2 weeks to get out. And so they did that on Unwin 2 Thursdays ago. And you cannot move in 2 weeks because you have a Section 8 voucher. So now you're gonna end up displaced. They're gonna move you somewhere to just get you out of the way. So we've gotta be mindful that some of us can afford to do certain things. Others, they're not gonna be able to afford it. They're gonna have to accept what's provided, and that's going to be those southeastern suburbs. So we have to stay mindful of, we've got kind of 3 areas. We've got those most disadvantaged. We have those that are kind of filtering middle class, and we've got the ones with the money who aren't thinking about us at all. We've got to be mindful of that because we're going to put those most disadvantaged, they will be in harm's way if we don't think about them as we maneuver and do these types of movements.
As we go further along in this economic plan, you'll see how what this plan does is actually include them in that. I did do an analysis of, because the actual office that I work at is in Bedford. So I'm constantly doing some geographical analysis and people in there because that's just where I'm at.
Right.
But the plan that I put together specifically is to the advantage of them. And when we go along, Ron, did you have something? We go along. I'm gonna go along just a little bit further. You can have something.
Yeah. But let me take this opportunity, and then that's it. But there's clearly power in this room today.
Absolutely.
It's clear. It's clear. If you don't see it, you should be able to feel it. There is power in this room. Now, we're all individual, we have our own personality and those things, but it's not about us individually any longer. We have to come together collectively. Listen, the next forum that takes place, when you look around and you don't see this power, these same faces, go look for your brother and sister. Hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
Get with your brother and sister. Together, we're going to be able to bring something to the table. I'm telling you, if we just collectively unite, solidify, make up in your mind today, this hour, solidify. I remember these faces. I'm going to remember these faces because I know power when I see it. I will remember these faces. And if I don't see them at the next forum, I'm going to tell my daughter I need to see that contact list.